Good morning, all. I have had this one lone koozie gourd hanging out, and I haven't had the heart to put it into the compost bin, but I also don't have the space in my garden beds. And so I had the aha duh moment this morning, and I should try planting it in a container. Silly me. And then this way, too, we can compare container grown gourds for those of us who may have a sunny porch that we want to put it on, or otherwise just kind of explore the space of container gardening. And so this is a pot. It's probably a 15-gallon pot in the nursery trade speak. I think this came from a bush that I bought a while ago. You can also buy these new from the nursery store. They're about $10 each. Or another trick is at the end of the season, you can buy a clearance plant that is not going to make it because it's root bound, and then you're actually just buying the pot. So we're gonna plant it in. I just have some generic potting soil. I'm using this version here of potting bed mix or potting soil. Potting soil is awesome because it's light and floofy. It has a lot more aeration, and because it's lighter, it's also easier if you're going to be moving your pots around. Normal soil in pots tends to get really heavy and cloyy. It doesn't have good drainage, which is important when you're growing in pots. Alright, so let's pop this guy out of its pot and see what its roots are looking like. Right, and when you're planting, this is a great time to recenter your plant. You can tell that this one is growing over here at the corner of the soil block, and so I offset the soil block so that the plant is in the center, not the soil block is in the center. And then we'll just nestle this in. And applying firm but gentle pressure because we want to get really good soil contact between that root block and the rest of the pot to encourage the leaves or the roots to grow outwards. There we go. I like to go ahead and scruff up the top here just a little bit. There's not a whole lot of roots up here quite yet. And what that does is it helps there becoming a barrier between the soil block of that seed starting mix and the rest of our soil. Sometimes there can kind of just, the transition between the two soil types is a little too much for water or other things, and you kind of get a little dry spot sometimes. The soil block dries out faster than the surrounding soil. And then put the tag in. And thankfully I was clever enough and wrote what it was, but I did not include the date. So this will be a mystery of how long this little plant has been growing. Alright, so now we just water and mulch. Alright, and there we have it. The little gourd plant is all nestled into its new home. I don't really have a good porch that isn't blasted by the afternoon winds. So with that, I have put it down here in my garden with my other pots of plants so that I will hopefully remember to water it. There's always a risk of when you have a lone plant somewhere you totally forget to water it, and this will need water this summer. I went ahead and mulched it to help with the evaporation issue, although at this time of the year quite often I leave soil unmulched because it helps attract heat or retain heat with that dark soil kind of gathering up the solar radiation. And otherwise, there's a spinach in the very far background, one of my other container experiments. And so yeah, there we have it. We'll see what happens with this koozie gourd grown in a pot. I hope you're all well, and I hope you get some dirt under your fingernails.